Hello, welcome back to Sam's Tarot. I'm Sam, and I know it's been a couple weeks. I got done with the 31 days of Tarot back in January, and I think I put out like 16 or 17 videos, and that's the most videos I've ever put out. Still very, very new to this, so took a little bit of a break for a couple weeks, but found time today to go ahead and sit back and record a few episodes so I can have content over the next month or two by putting out one or two videos a week. And this first one is going to be a walkthrough of the Celtic Tarot by Courtney Davis. Excuse me. And this deck is special for a couple different reasons. And um, so I'm sure many of my viewers, and if you're viewing this, have seen other video channels where the host every once in a while gets a surprise gift from one of their subscribers. Um, and I never started this channel for that reason or anything like that. As I stated last month, I started this channel as a way to introduce myself to the tarot community online and get conversations growing and become part of the community. And one of my subscribers, one Texas Rose, sent me an email a couple weeks ago and asked if she can gift me this deck. And it's a first edition. And she saw how I've been showing off some first edition decks, so she thought I might have a penchant for it, which she's absolutely correct. I do. So she asked if she can send it, so she did. And it's a first edition. It doesn't come in the original box, but the tin is as special, if not more so, with this gift. So one of these days, maybe I'll do a tour around my home or something. But to say that I love art. Okay, shoot, in our foyer we've got half a dozen paintings hanging in our foyer. Got print behind me that you can see the edge of. I got prints here and there, pictures that I take over here, and I physical art up on the wall over here. I love art, and personal art to me, um, unique art, kind of one of a kind things, or limited things, is very special to me. And so she didn't have the box, but she had this in a tin that was created, an art tin that was created by the artist Mickey Mueller. Now, when Texas Rose told me about this, I'll get this out of my way. When Texas Rose told me about this in the email, I recognized that she was mentioning names. I need to know who these names were, of course. And so I looked it up, and it turns out that Mickey Mueller is the artist of another tarot deck that I have, the Mystical Cats Tarot. And I'm going to go ahead and show you this tin. Again, it's just a beautiful tin, and it's a trellis with Celtic knotwork around it. And I don't know how, I don't know what methods or how she did this tin, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and it fits so well with the theme of this deck. Um, she also sent me a little beautiful little art card as well. And again, I just have to say to Texas Rose, thank you so much. This was a very special gift. And then on top of this, she put in another deck, which was actually on my to get list, the Revival Tarot from was it Tarocco company, and we'll take a quick look at that here in just a little bit as well in this video. But mostly, I wanted to go ahead and share this deck as my audience today because it is a beautiful deck. It has been lovingly handled from the care given it, and it is just some beautiful artwork. A lot of rich symbology in it. good coloring. Um, I like printed art, um, publications, stuff like that. I know that sounds weird, but part of that is typesetting, enjoyment of typesetting, fonts used, and calligraphy. And so everything about this deck is just beautiful, from the rich colors, the Celtic knotwork and symbology that's within the cards themselves, the backs. I'll show you that. The backs of these cards, I mean, they just pop. And even as something as simple as the calligraphy used in the uh, the names of the cards. Wheel of Fortune, just gorgeous detail. And again, this is the Celtic Tarot by Courtney Davis. And it's important that you put that Courtney Davis in there, not because you're just giving credit to who did this tarot deck, um, but there are actually a few different quote unquote Celtic decks out there. And I've seen a couple of them, and they are all beautiful. But I have to say, this one really hit my fancy. When I got the email, it blew me away. And sure enough, I think almost the same day we were communicating back and forth through email, she sent this, and it arrived just a couple days afterwards. And I've actually been sitting on it here for a couple weeks to share. And a lot of these are pip style. It is a pip style deck. But you know, the pips themselves are so richly detailed. I mean, look at that intricate knotwork. And again, just all ties in so well. One thing I was surprised at, well, I won't. That's not completely accurate. I'm sorry. I would have thought that they would have done the Ten of Pentacles maybe in the Tree of Life pattern, um, but they didn't. But it's still very intricate, still very beautiful. And I guess there is no expectation of every tens to show a Tree of Life. That's a very Rider-Waite-Smith thing, considering what the Golden Dawn was and its source material. So, and therefore influencing both the Rider-Waite and the eventually the Thoth Tarot. And of course the cups. I love how there it is so color coordinated. So you know, the pentacles there were in green with the blue kind of background. The cups have a blue background and then purplish and gold edging. So each suite follows kind of the same thing for colors. And so you can kind of tell at a glance, once you're used to the deck, of course, which one's which. Here is the court cards for the cups. I like that one. I mean, just again, the artistry. Is that a word? The artistry in this deck. Really nice. So then wands, of course, and your wands have the again kind of purple red thing, and show you the court cards here. I'm flipping through a lot of the pips, not for lack of interest, but for sake of time on a video. This is just a beautiful deck. Love the use of colors. The swords, very nice. We'll show you a couple of the pips here, though. Three of Swords. Let's see. The Eight of Swords. Nine of Swords. I don't know about you, but the sword suite in most tarot decks is kind of, to me, on par with in looks and aesthetics. You know what I'm trying to say? Aesthetics are in par with the trump cards for me sometimes. 10. And then, of course, we have the court cards for the swords as well. And then we are back to where we started. So beautiful, beautiful deck. Definitely. I don't have a lot of pip decks in my collection, and most pip decks I've seen I've not been that interested in. This is definitely an exception to the rule, not just because of the gratitude and sincerity of the gift of it, but how intricate the designs are. It's not just a pip deck. It's a pip deck with flair, complexity, art, and a theme that I can definitely wrap my head around. And again, just the beautiful art on the tin. And knowing this came from another artist of a tarot that I really like, just makes it even more of that special. It's just incredible. Beautiful, beautiful deck. The Revival Art Tarot is a very beautiful deck, and actually had was on my radar and actually on list of possible future purchases. So I'm glad that it found a home here. And the deal with this deck is it actually takes art from the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period and puts it all on the tarot cards. So you have various parts of paintings. Sometimes you're not going to have the full scale of the painting on these, but again, there's some of the classic masterworks in art. And again, being an art guy, this definitely just really shouts to me. I mean, one of my major decks that I really like is the Botticelli Tarot, which uses the same thing as a Clement Tarot deck. I think there's a couple others out there that uses the various points of art from various paintings and stuff all the way through the deck. The back of these cards are also very artistic, and because the way they're done, looks like you can read this with reversals if you wish. Had to double check that I didn't have to scan this thing, but again, beautiful art without being showing too much or anything like that. I've seen this particular painting in person, and it is a beautiful piece of work. Actually, I think somewhere around here I've got a print of it that I got at the museum, actually, when seeing that. So my first thoughts as I first looked through this is that this is one of those decks that is really great for the collection, but you're definitely going to have to work with it to get to learn and know it more. And that's because, you know, while like a majority of, well, actually, I can't say a majority of that's too vague. A lot of theme decks are usually, not always, but usually seem to be Rider-Waite Smith themed. And this one I don't think is that big of an exception. However, there's just a lot of cases where sometimes the art doesn't necessarily match traditional looks. And so having to rediscover what these the art means to you and for you in a deck like this can actually take a little bit more time than your traditional look. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's actually an important thing. Part of, for me anyway, the joy of collecting decks is that, excuse me, even though various decks might actually use the same system, such as Rider-Waite-Smith or a pip deck that, kind of, I think anyway, but again, I don't do pip decks or Marcel's that often, but pip decks I think have a tradition being more like Marcel's. And so there's different, I don't want to say interpretations because that's not really the case, but different styles of reading them. There we go. And the theme decks like this challenges us to look at the card from this deck and what this meaning of this card is in this deck. And it's going to have similarities, I know, from one deck to another, but there's going to be subtle differences in that interpretation as it comes out. And all of that has to do with the symbology and art used. And that's exactly what this deck is. It uses art to interpret the meaning of the tarot card. And while it does use some of the symbology and stuff that you are accustomed to seeing, it doesn't necessarily give it all to you. So you have to kind of put a little effort into it. Oh, that's a beautiful card there. And I actually intend on working with this deck a little bit more. I work with all my decks, but specifically this one too. The artwork vibes for me. Again, because of my interest in art in general. But I'm curious to see if this is going to vibe with me on readings and stuff. So that is definitely something I'll have to look into as this year progresses. And I'm really surprised myself. I've only bought one deck so far this year. Granted, it was like on January 2nd, but only one deck so far. Let's see, where are we at here? I'm running out of things to say while I'm flipping through. This is, I think, the toughest part of. Oh, beautiful! Look at that. I forgot where I was going. Excuse me, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, that's it. One of the harder things of running a video channel, even as a little side project and hobby, is keeping up with talking throughout a deck review. And I know some people do the silent thing and dub music over and stuff like that and focus just on the cards themselves. And I do like those, but quite frankly, I actually like hearing people talk about the cards and what they get out of them. Even if it's just little tidbits here and there. And discussing the tidbits from this side of the camera is actually more difficult, for me anyway, more difficult than it first appears. And so trying to fill up this space with not too much silence. Now, I don't do the whole silent treatment stuff because one thing I'm not good at is video editing. I have no real clue. Um, and what little effort I put in to try to learn, I get the gist. I mean, I know how to cut, merge, stuff like that, but quite frankly, it's work that I don't enjoy. Uh, so I decided a while back that already went through it. Um, I decided a while back when I was going to do this channel that I want to do these in basically a take, and either as a whole take, it either stays or goes. Um, so I actually sometimes end up having to do the same video a couple, three times because I'd rather do that than actually do any sort of editing. Excuse me. And splice this good piece of video with this piece good of video and tie it together. But this way you also kind of get my raw thoughts as they come. So there you have it. These is the Revival Art Tarot and the Celtic Tarot by Courtney Davis. Gifted to me by our own Texas Rose, who's part of our community. She leaves a lot of comments, not just on my channel, but on others as well. And again, you're awesome. You really are. And thank you so much for reaching out as you did. These decks do have a great home, and I appreciate the trust that you put me in and trusted me with when you gifted these to me. So thank you so much. And that's all that I have for you for this video. But while you might not see the next video for a couple of days or a week, I'm going to be turning around and keep on doing. I've got several of these planned today, so try to knock them all out at once. So I will personally see you again in just I guess a couple minutes here. Anyway, real quick, got links down below in the description, including over to my Facebook page, trying to get conversation discussion started over there. Hit the like button if you would, and I try to reply to everybody who leaves a comment on my channel on each video. Sometimes it's hard to do so, but I do read them right now, luckily, because I don't know how the bigger channels do it, but right now my channel is small enough that I can read each individual comment, and even if I don't respond to it, I can at least give it a like and say, hey, I read it, thank you. So do know that I do personally read each and every comment, and you'll know I have done so when you see that little like button. I haven't gotten any hate, so if I got some hate, you might get a thumbs down, but at least even then you'll know that I actually read it. That's the other thing I still got to get used to, is how to talk so much without having to break every 2 minutes for a drink. Happens when you get old, I guess. Anyway, I appreciate your time, and I will see you next time. Until then, have a great day. Goodbye.